Welcome to the next installment of the 12 Days of Tarot, and also the next installment of my Elemental 2021 forecast. So fire signs, you're up next. We're going to start with a pull from the Total Betty Goddess deck, as always, just to give a little divine feminine inspiration for the year ahead. So if you're not familiar, Total Betty Goddess deck is for sale at michelleshaywalker.com. It's all 90s icons as the goddesses, so it's a really great way to acquaint yourself with divine feminine energy using familiar faces. So for my fire signs, which by the way are Leo, Aries, and Sagittarius, so if that is your sun, moon, or rising, this video is for you. Your goddess for the year ahead is Vesta, played by Liv Tyler as Corey in Empire Records. So Vesta is a very interesting goddess in the Total Betty deck, because my intention with all of the goddesses was to portray them as their most empowered divine feminine selves. And sometimes when you look into mythology, there's not a lot of empowerment in these myths that we get told throughout the ages and every culture. So I basically listened into the energy and kind of transmuted the energy into something that could be inspiring. So Vesta is where we get the term Vestal Virgins, because Vesta had virgins that tended to her temple, and there's a whole history with them that you can look into on your own. But the reason that Liv Tyler is playing this virginal goddess inspiration is because her character in Empire Records is a virgin and offers herself to Rex Manning. If you're not familiar with Empire Records, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Please go watch it immediately. But there's a duality to this sexuality. There's this idea of being very sexual and open to that encounter, but also having this purity. So that's what Vesta is about, really. It's about being both adventurous and reserved, for lack of a better term, being both integrated in the world with others and also really, really dedicated to your own solo time. Because in Greek mythology, virgin goddess, it has been translated to mean a woman of herself. It doesn't necessarily refer to sexual purity in the traditional form. So that's kind of what Vesta is coming in and representing. It's the idea that your sexuality is sacred and you can choose to share it with others, but you can also recognize that you're just as powerful keeping that energy contained for yourself. So it's this, like I said, a dual energy. It's a give and take. So for my fire signs, my passionate people, this card is telling you that 2021 is the year that you are both learning to use that fire in the world, but also know when to hold back, which is kind of hard for the impulsive fire signs to do. So this is definitely going to be a year of battling your own demons and recognizing when you need to cease and hold back your action. So we're gonna pull some Holly Simple Tarot cards to go ahead and go deeper into that energy. But already I have a feeling that we're gonna get some cards telling you to maybe meditate, maybe stay in a little bit more, which I know is hard to hear after 2020, and we've done a lot of staying in. But the lessons that you've learned in 2020 of how to be alone, how to spend time with yourself, how to cease action for a while is going to be really important in your 2021 journey. So we're going to do a Celtic cross spread. So I'm going to lay out all of the cards and then we'll go through one by one and I will talk about what's coming up in the energy of the upcoming year. Okay. So our first card is the underlying circumstance. The sort of theme for your year is the Empress. So right away, we have a card that's really echoing that sentiment of knowing when to share with the world and knowing when to hold back. Because the Empress is portrayed as a pregnant being, and she's a card of gestation, of being able to allow your manifestations to grow and come to fruition when they're fully matured. So for you impulsive fire signs, what this is saying is sometimes you might be diving into the pool before the water's been filled. And this year is gonna be all about recognizing when the water's still rising, recognizing when the manifestation is still developing in your metaphorical womb, and letting that happen without having to take action, without having to dive in just yet. So it's gonna be a really, again, all about balance, duality. Vesta's about dualities. It's gonna be about walking that line of, okay, does this need to develop more, or can I dive into this project? And the card that's coming on top of that, which are sort of opposing factors or factors to watch out for in that journey, is the Eight of Pentacles. So the Eight of Pentacles is coming in with an idea that you are trying to master your craft at something. You're trying to go from being apprentice to being the expert, to being the mentor. And I hear a couple of you fire signs that are in my Patreon community. I feel your energy in this reading, so you know who you are. You're going from being an apprentice to being a mentor, and that is going to be really interesting with trying to play with this energy of when do I hold back and when do I dive into these projects, because you're going to be a little more in charge. And that's the lesson of the entire year. So you don't have to be in charge right away. The goal of the year is to continuously be growing in your skill set so that you can become the mentor by year's end. So know that if you have people underneath you looking for what to do next and asking you what action to take, that might be fighting against sometimes your need to recognize when to take action and when to hold back. So the message that I'm getting here is don't let outside pressures or expectations interfere with your holding back and waiting for that gestation period. Just because you have people relying on you or looking to you to what to do next doesn't mean that you have to dive into the pool before there's water in it. You can still be like, okay, to have the peace of mind, have the gumption and the self-awareness to be able to turn to these people that are asking you when to take action and say, hold on just a bit. And sort of be that like still and mysterious leader that can just be like, not yet. And own that. Own that you know that it's not time to dive into the pool because the water hasn't been filled yet. And that's gonna be the energies that you're kind of bouncing back and forth between this year. The underlying root cause of all of this is a beautiful card. It's the Ten of Cups, which means that you are having a ton of wishes fulfilled and a ton of blessings coming your way this year. So I think that that is going to be both good and bad in regards to knowing when to let something gestate, because you are going to be manifesting things pretty quickly. So there are going to be certain aspects where you're like, I want this, and it shows up immediately. And so you might get into a habit of having things happen really quickly, and you'll get high from that rush. And then you'll end up having a situation where there does need to be a longer gestation time, and you might feel a little impatient. And when that happens, I want to come back to that mentality of the sort of pregnant empress waiting for the right time. You don't want to deliver the baby at 3 months. You want to deliver the baby at 9 or 10 months. You don't want to go too early because then you have to deal with complications afterwards. So that is, again, both good and bad. You're going to be manifesting things very quickly. But when things don't manifest quickly, stop and ask yourself, well, is that because there's something that's still developing here and I wouldn't want to deliver this undercooked manifestation because it would end up being more work in the long run? So any not quick manifestations are a blessing in disguise because they're saving you work at the end of the game. Your goal for this year is the Devil card, which means that what your goal is this year is to conquer your own addictions. And in this case, I think it's definitely an addiction to that fast pace, to that immediate action, to those immediate manifestations. There's a feeling of really, really teaching yourself the beauty of the wait and see and the beauty of letting something gestate. And also there's a little calling to recognize the gestation as taking action. So if we are going to use the metaphor of a pregnancy, think of it as if whenever things aren't moving forward, when things aren't happening really quickly, if you're pregnant with something and you're not giving birth, you're still actively collecting all of the cells together that are going to become this baby. So this is about a shift in mindset. This letting go of this addiction to action is about recognizing that action is happening even when you're not having some adrenaline rush from moving forward physically in the world. There's little subtle actions happening underneath at an energetic level. And the more that you can start to become aware of that, the more that you can let go of that addiction to the action forward, because you recognize the action's happening even when you're sitting in stillness. Things are occurring. I highly recommend meditation as a way to practice this, especially a body scan meditation, so that you can get to know what the cells of your body are telling you, because then you'll realize that when you sit still in meditation, there's still a lot of movement going on. So that is your goal, to learn that lesson. Your past is coming in with the 8 of Cups. So that implies that there is something that you're leaving behind this year, something that is not necessarily reached the end of the rope, but just it's done. There's something in your life. I feel for a lot of you, it might be a job situation. Some of you, it might be a relationship, but there's something in your life that you're just going to be able to look around one day and you're just going to be like, there's nothing more I can do here. And it doesn't have to be a frustration. It doesn't have to be out of anger. It's as if if you are birthing a baby, the baby's born. You can no longer put the baby back into the womb and continue to develop its cells. There are certain areas of your life that are going to be a fully matured baby that you're sending off into the world that you're no longer going to be involved with. And that could be, like I said, a job or relationship are the biggest ones. For a lot of you, I think it's going to be job related, but if there is a relationship that you need to leave behind, either way, you're doing it with love. Do it with love and gratitude, and just kind of look at it from the broader perspective and recognize that you've done all you could. You've done all you could here. You've learned all that you could within the situation, and there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with the situation. It's just time to move on. And that's what the 8 of Cups is saying. So that's coming in with the recent past. So you may have already experienced this before this reading, or you're going to experience it very soon. 2021 is coming in with the future of the Mother of Swords. So the Mother of Swords is indicating that you are going to need to become an expert at being your own gatekeeper, socially, emotionally, even project-wise. The Mother of Swords doesn't just let anyone into her queendom. She is hyper aware of how the energy of the people around her are going to waste her time. And she doesn't suffer any fools. So the Mother of Swords is basically telling you that it's a really good year in the near future to start editing out the energies around you. So that might mean that you unfollow a bunch of people on Instagram. It might mean that you end up editing some people from your social circle. Or it might mean that you just make some general rules for yourself moving forward as you start to encounter new interactions. And you can just say to yourself, I'm not going to put up with X, Y, and Z. And stick to that. Think of it as the drawbridge that comes up. Anytime you see those red flags, you're like, nope, don't have the energy for that. I have more important things to deal with than to suffer the fools. So it's a no BS approach to your social scenarios. And I think that it's going to be very, very fitting for you guys. Fire signs are very social. So it's going to be a good year to learn that sometimes being social doesn't reap more benefits if it's with the wrong people. Sometimes it's better to just spend the evening alone, even if you want to have a social outing. So that's what this is coming in with. So as you're leaving behind these old situations from your past, you're going to start editing out the people in your future as well. People, places, encounters, projects, all of the above. You're going to start to become an expert at what is worth your time. So just be aware of that. Your energy is coming in as the Father of Pentacles, which again is echoing that 8 of Pentacles energy that you're going to become a master of your craft. So you are coming in ready to be the boss of whatever it is that you're going into, whatever it is you're working on, particularly in regards to career, home, family, stability. These are the areas that you are ready to step into your power. And you may not feel like you are, but you are. The Father of Pentacles is the top of the tier. We're not talking about being an apprentice anymore. We really are talking about going to that master level. So start treating yourself like a boss. Even if you're not the boss in your current position, start seeing yourself as a boss and start thinking like a boss, and ask yourself, how would you restructure your routines and your daily life and the way that you spend your time? So again, coming back to that Mother of Swords, editing out the people that aren't worth your time. You really do need to be like a CEO of a high-powered company and consider your time worth thousands of dollars a minute. And is this person or this project or this scenario worth that? Something to consider. The outside world is coming in with the Two of Swords. So there is a little bit of an energy of blocking you from these goals. And the best thing that I can tell you about this is that just because other people don't believe that you can do it doesn't mean that you can't. And this is definitely a feeling of coming back to that editing of the people around you as well. This Two of Swords energy feels like it's coming from a place of the people that probably don't need to be in your life as much anymore. So this Eight of Cups energy that's coming from your past, where you walked away from something that didn't serve you, you're going to continue to use that lesson throughout 2021. You're going to look around at some situations, some encounters, some relationships, and you're gonna be like, you know what? This isn't really serving the person that I wanna be anymore. And again, no hard feelings, but it's time to go. And that's the Two of Swords coming in from the outside world is just showing you the people that are ready to be edited out. The ones that are absolutely blocking you from your ultimate boss power probably don't need to move forward with you into this manifestation that you're creating. Your hopes and fears in this situation are the Son of Wands. So there is an element of really wanting to integrate some spiritual into this. This is there's cups and pentacles, but there's a lot of pentacles in this reading. So there's a lot of career and abundance and stability and rootedness and forward movement in the workaholicness of the world. And the Son of Wands is saying like, hey, just because you're real busy at work doesn't mean that you can't have time for that spirituality. So again, at the beginning of this reading, I said meditation is going to be really powerful for you. So I think that the hope here is that you still hold on to that little spiritual element. The outcome is the Daughter of Pentacles. So the Daughter of Pentacles is an interesting card to come in with you having the energy of the Father of Pentacles, because we're going from the top of the tier to the bottom of the tier. So the outcome of this scenario is that by transforming your thought process into being a boss, by editing out the people in your life that don't believe that you're capable of that or that are just wasting your time, you will come to this nice little level ground where you're not going to have the high pressure of what you might have expected from being a boss, but you're going to be at the start of that. You're going to be the start of creating your bossness. So if we're to use the example, I get a feeling that someone watching this reading is maybe going to start their own business. So let's use that example for everyone watching, and you can apply it to whatever scenario fits for you. If you're starting your own business and you have to start thinking like a boss, and you have to start leaving behind job situations that don't serve you, and leaving behind the people that aren't supporting you, or at least, silencing them a little bit, you will come out the other end of 2021 in a really logical way, in that you're on your way to being a boss, you're on your way to that top CEO level, but you don't have to feel like you jump from the first rung of the ladder to the last rung of the ladder. You're gonna be somewhere in between. So if you're starting at square one right now, and you're, working in a job that's not working for yourself, and you're taking that leap into trying to create your own business, maybe for the first 3 or 4 months of the year, you're still working that job, but then you're using your spare time to create some of that. And then maybe halfway through the year, you are, cutting back on your hours at that job, and then you're working on the side on your own project. By the end of the year, you might have quit that job and work completely on your own, but you're still just starting out, and that's okay. The Daughter of Pentacles is saying that it is part of the journey. You don't have to be, and you wouldn't want to. So this kind of comes back to the idea of letting things gestate. You don't have to be at the top level of your manifestation the second that you think of it. So a good example of this is the spiritual teacher Abraham Hicks talks about the law of attraction and manifesting and how your thoughts create your reality a lot. And they talk about how there is a lag between thinking you want something and actually getting it. And that would be because, like, if you were watching a documentary on elephants and you had a random thought of, it'd be fun to own an elephant, and an elephant appeared in your living room right at that second, that wouldn't be great. And so the lag time, the developmental time, the gestation time, is for you to clarify those manifestations. It's not because you're doing anything wrong. It's not because you're not going to get there eventually. It's for you to really recognize what it is that you do and don't want, and the things that you need to help support what you do want. So what this spread is saying is that in regards to especially career, you are going to be the boss. You are going to be at the top level, mentorship level, and maybe it's not like you created your own business, but like on some energetic level, even if you stay in your current position and you're not the CEO of a company, you're going to become that expert in that field. But you can't manifest the elephant right now. You don't want to manifest the elephant right now. You want to go through that whole process of learning and growing and taking a step up the ladder, and learning and growing and taking another step up the ladder. First of all, because that's life. That's why we're here. We're here to have that unfolding experience. So that's why you're really being called to be okay with the gestation, because that's exactly what you need to get the things that you want. Because again, the experience clarifies the outcome. And without the experience, you would have an elephant in your living room and you wouldn't know how to get it out the front door. So just let it be okay that it takes time to build an elephant's habitat and ship the elephant to you and get the elephant supplies and have all that build, so that you don't end up in a situation that feels like you bit off more than you could chew. So I hope that this reading has served you well. This is the 12 Days of Tarot, so there are more videos still to come. Follow me wherever it is that you're watching this video. And if you're interested in that Total Betty Goddess deck, it's for sale over at michelleshaywalker.com/shop. Thank you for joining me here, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon.